You ever notice how we teach kids to be kind, honest, and fair, share your toys, say sorry, help others? Then you grow up and realize the real world doesn't just ignore those values, it punishes them. It's like we've built an entire society on moral values, only to hand the power to people who don't follow any of them. And the most ironic part? We act shocked when it all goes sideways. Let's not sugarcoat it. Being a good, decent human being is a liability in today's system. Meanwhile, if you've got traits that fall under what psychologists call the Dark Triad, narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy, you're not just surviving, you're thriving. These aren't disorders anymore, they're assets. It's the new gold standard of success, and we've designed systems that reward those traits at every turn. Take job interviews, for example. Do they ask about your empathy, your ability to support others, your history of collaboration, or ethical decision-making? Of course not. They want to know if you've got leadership skills, which in corporate speak is code for, can you get people to do what you want, regardless of how? They ask about your drive, your hunger, your results, not whether those results came at someone else's expense. The Dark Triad candidate walks into that same interview and plays the game like a pro. They're slick, confident, totally unbothered about stepping on others. They steal credit, speak fluent buzzword, and sell visions they never intend to deliver. And guess what? They get the job every single time. Meanwhile, the honest candidate who just wants to do solid work, too soft, too modest, not executive enough. And then there's charm. Society treats charm like a green flag, but in reality, it's one of the biggest red flags you can find. Narcissists are charm factories. They know how to light up a room, tell you exactly what you want to hear, and make you feel special for 5 minutes. Then they'll throw you under a bus and never lose sleep over it. But because they made us feel good for a moment, we give them jobs, promotions, even power. It's like we've decided that being charismatic is more important than being competent. Imagine hiring a surgeon because their TED Talk was funny. "Oh, doctor, Johnson cracked a great joke about brain surgery. I'm sure he's solid with a scalpel." That's how we pick leaders now, based on how they make us feel, not what they can actually do. And then we act confused when everything falls apart. Let's zoom out a little. Look at CEOs, politicians, corporate managers. The ones who rise fastest, they're not the ones quietly doing excellent work. They're the ones selling illusions, promising synergy and paradigm shifts, while cutting jobs, gutting departments, and draining morale. They don't build, they extract, but they sound visionary, so we clap. It's easy to game a system that only tracks surface-level wins, especially if you don't care who gets hurt. Empathetic managers build healthy teams and long-term success, but because their numbers aren't sky-high today, they get overlooked. Meanwhile, the psychopathic manager slashes costs, burns people out, and gets promoted for delivering results. It's like judging a parent by how spotless their living room is. Never mind the fact they locked their kids in the basement so the place could stay tidy. Confidence has become society's favorite drug. Not competence, not kindness, just raw, unshakable confidence. It's wild. A person who second-guesses themselves, who pauses to consider the impact of their decisions, that's now seen as a weakness. Meanwhile, the guy with zero self-awareness, who boldly charges ahead with no clue what he's doing. Leadership material. It's a goldmine for psychopaths. They don't have imposter syndrome, not because they're brilliant, but because they literally can't recognize their flaws. They truly believe they're the smartest person in the room, and society buys it. We say, "Look how confident he is. He must know something." We give the pilot seat to the one who thinks he can fly, not the one who actually studied aviation. And that's how we end up with entire companies, governments, and institutions run by people who have no idea what they're doing, but look great doing it. Here's where it gets even crazier. Our brains are wired to notice threats and chaos. It's ancient survival programming. That means we're naturally drawn to dramatic personalities. And guess who thrives on chaos? The Dark Triad crew. They stir up conflict, create tension, manipulate emotions, and we're glued to it. Like watching a train wreck in slow motion. The quiet, competent leader who builds stable systems? Invisible. The narcissist who creates daily drama and makes everything about themselves captivating. They dominate the spotlight, our attention, and eventually, our loyalty. It's like watching reality TV instead of a documentary. The doc might make you smarter, but the drama's more addictive. And guess which one gets higher ratings? So we end up with a society where being a decent, balanced human is considered boring, and being a toxic, unstable one is considered powerful. We elevate chaos. We monetize dysfunction. And when the inevitable damage happens, when these personalities destroy everything in their path, who gets blamed? Not them. Oh no, we blame the victims. You should have seen the red flags. You let them manipulate you. You should have known better. It's like blaming a pedestrian for getting hit by a drunk driver at 3 a.m. on the wrong side of the road. We act like they should have anticipated the disaster instead of holding the disaster accountable. Why do we do this? Because it's easier to blame the victim than admit the truth, that our systems reward the worst people and punish the best. That would mean facing how broken the whole game really is, and most people aren't ready for that. Instead, we cling to the illusion that good people always win and bad people always lose. That way, we don't have to change anything. We just shake our heads, blame the prey, and pretend the predators earned their place. And this delusion, this comforting fantasy that success equals virtue, spills into everything. Someone makes money, we assume they must be smart. Someone's famous, must mean they're qualified. Someone leads a company, they're probably a genius. But here's what we ignore: the trail of damage they leave behind. We don't ask how they got successful. We don't look at who they stepped on, manipulated, or exploited. We just see the shiny result and hand them more power. It's the halo effect on steroids. And it's why narcissistic influencers are taken seriously on politics, why failed CEOs get rehired to destroy the next company, and why sociopathic leaders get applause for running things into the ground with confidence. Meanwhile, the real experts, the quiet ones who spent decades studying, building, and refining, they get ignored. Why? Because they're not entertaining enough, not flashy, not disruptive. And that brings us to the scam of loyalty. Dark Triad types love testing loyalty, but not in the way you think. They'll ask you to bend a rule, overlook a problem, cover for something sketchy. Just a small test. Say yes, and you're in. Say no, and suddenly you're not a team player. It's genius in the worst way, because now the inner circle is full of people who've already compromised themselves. They can't speak up without implicating themselves. So, the rot spreads. One corrupted hire leads to another, and suddenly the whole organization's values are gone, replaced by fear, control, and fake unity. And we call that strong leadership. Even innovation has been hijacked. We've decided that innovation means rule-breaking, recklessness, and disregard for people. The entrepreneur who breaks labor laws and burns out their team, he's a visionary. We romanticize the idea that you have to be cold-blooded to change the world. But history tells a different story. Real innovation, lasting world-changing innovation, comes from people who care, who think long-term, who build things to help, not just to disrupt. But we've buried that under a pile of move fast and break things slogans. And once these toxic people are in, we double down. Even when they fail, we make excuses. We've invested so much in them, we convince ourselves they must succeed eventually. That's the sunk cost fallacy. And it keeps us clinging to failures because admitting the truth would mean admitting we built the wrong system. From an evolutionary lens, it's tragic comedy. We evolved with empathy, cooperation, and future thinking to survive as a species. But now, we reward the exact opposite. We've handed the controls to people optimized for short-term wins and long-term collapse. It's like hiring a pickpocket to manage your retirement fund. They're great at taking money, just not for you. And the harshest truth, these personalities succeed because they reflect what we truly value, not what we say we value. We say we want integrity, but we reward self-promotion. We say we want honesty, but we cling to comforting lies. We claim to admire kindness, but we idolize confidence, even when it's fake. The manipulators aren't beating the system. They are the system. They're a mirror of what we've really built, And while we're handing them power, they're draining the very society that elevated them. The narcissist CEO eventually burns the company down to feed his ego. The psychopathic politician destroys institutions for personal gain. The Machiavellian manager ends up isolated and paranoid, drowning in a world of enemies they created. They don't build, they extract. They don't lead, they drain. And when the damage is done, they never take the blame. They point fingers, twist the story, rewrite the past, and move on to the next institution, the next system, the next stage, ready to do it all over again. And here's the final punchline. We let them. We vote for them, we hire them, we defend them, we believe them over and over again. So what now? Now you see it. You can't unsee it. You'll start to notice these patterns everywhere. You'll recognize the fake confidence, the manufactured charm, the manipulation dressed up as leadership. And that's step one. Step two, start rewarding what actually matters. Value people who are competent, not just confident, who are real, not just charming, who care, even when it's not convenient. The Dark Triad thrives in a blind world. Let's start paying attention. They're counting on our silence. Let's disappoint them. Thanks for watching. If this opened your eyes even a little, drop a comment that says "unfooled" so I know you're one of the ones who see through the game. Support the channel because these messages need to reach more people, and I'll see you in the next one.